Good evening. I'm Helena Tadessa joining you live here. If you are watching us on Facebook or YouTube, welcome you again. We continue our informative conversation. Today, I am honored to have two representatives of two of our largest platforms guiding our community in activism. I really want to thank both of you, Ms. Luam Gede and Mr. Daniel Waldu. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, I'll give you both an opportunity to introduce yourselves. We are just really honored to have you. Ladies first, always.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd agree.
I would.
Ms. Gide, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you're representing today?
Thank you for having me. My name is Luam, and I'm representing Stand with Tigray.
Perfect. Stand with Tigray. I'm very sure everyone knows this name. And for those who don't, I'm excited for you to join. And then Mr. Waldu, please go for it.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Waldu. I would be representing OMNA Tigray here today. But, we all work together as a team. This is a global effort, so I'm excited to be here.
Definitely excited to have you. I was just saying before we went on air, I've seen you on so many streams and interviews that I feel like I know you, but then I realized I had to introduce myself because I don't. But if there would be any type of silver lining, it would be this, that our community is tighter than ever. We do all pretty much know each other, and we are here working together to guide our greater community, the youth and elders, to triumphancy of our people, right? So why don't we kick off by talking about both platforms, both OMNA as well as Stand with Tigray, for those who may have no idea what they are. I mean, you would have to be under a rock, but there are people who have been focusing their efforts on other things. So how would we introduce these platforms?
Luam, you can go ahead and start.
Okay. Stand with Tigray, for those who don't know, it's a global movement by Tagaru diasporas, and we do a lot of Twitter campaign, email campaign, as well as interviewing guests, experts on our platform. We have daily Twitter campaigns, as well as a few email campaigns that we push. We also have collaborated with other teams in terms of pushing Twitter campaigns to amplify our voice. And our mission is to be the voice to the voiceless people of Tigray, our families who are in Tigray, and of course, those who are refugees in Sudan. So that's our goal, is to be the voice and to really amplify and put pressure on the international community to act sooner and not to be too late for our people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Daniel.
Yes, so OMNA Tigray, like Stand with Tigray, does work on similar kind of initiatives. Tweet Bites, those are always prepared on a daily basis to bring awareness on current events. There are petitions that are usually posted on the site to show our Tagaro communities across the world that there are activities happening, diplomacy activities happening in different countries, as well as in infographics. So there's some infographics that indicate some of the timeline in which this war has started and where it has advanced and where we are now. There are numbers, graphs that show you the kind of information that makes it easy for everyone to digest, as well as some historical context. I think when we look at what's going on now here in the last 100 days, it's important to keep in mind the different historical context that happened in the last 3 years, as well as in the last 30 years, and then also going back into the last 100 and 130 years. Those moments give you a clarity on how the war is being used or how the war is being fought. And so to capture all of that, I think there's exposure to the international grounds. There are campaigns geared towards a specific group, like the EU when they meet. And then you have the UN Security Council that meets in New York. So there will be a campaign catered to that, as well as promoting different events that are happening across the world, including protests, gatherings, candlelight vigils, and such. So it's it's one of those places where, if you were to go there, you would understand the level of activism that's happening within the diaspora Tagaros, and also you have an ability to get a better understanding of what's taking place. So this is just the one place that you can incorporate all of that information.
For most people, including myself, the Tigray genocide began on November 4th, but that is not the case. So to have this background information, even the very near past, or, that all of the activities that culminated into what we now know is just a complete outbreak of war on the people of Tigray, is very important to have that context, especially I think about during Twitter campaigns or talking points, or even just for personal knowledge. And with Stand with Tigray, I know for a while you guys were like the lone the lone star out there, pushing and paving the way. And then now seeing both OMNA and Stand with Tigray, because you can never just have one, to carry all that. And I say burden, I know it's a burden of love, but you both deliver such balanced, equally important context and serving our greater community. So on behalf of our community, and I hope you as representatives, you take that back, a very big thank you. Very, very big thank you. And I mean that wholeheartedly, because, I also host a program, a continuing conversation series on mental wellness in time of crisis. And one of the leading factors of dis-ease that eventually leads to disease is that feeling of not knowing what's going on, like you're missing something, you don't know what to do, that helplessness, the guilt. A lot of us have survivor's guilt, having gone through this in the past. Some of us recently spoke to a young lady, almost 50, has gone through this 3 times, famine 2 times. So you can imagine, and then not being there this time. So, in light of these type of facts, to have 2 entities such as your organizations leading the way and helping us feel at least that we can do something. Let's talk about the first, and I pray, the only 100 days. There's a big campaign. That's the main reason of our conversation today. Let's start with Luam. What's going on? How can we help? How can we get involved?
Yes, there is the 100 days of genocide. We're using hashtag Tigray genocide and 100 days of genocide. Starting today at 12 a.m. EST, there is going to be a worldwide Twitter campaign all day tomorrow, 24 hours. Everybody's invited, Tagaru, non-Tagaru, it's worldwide. And this effort was made by all Tagaru's worldwide team. We have teams from Canada, Norway, Germany, France. It's all over the world, Australia. So that's what makes it special this time. Everybody coming together to really push and amplify this 100 days of genocide tomorrow. Unfortunately, it is the reality that we're waiting. It has been 100 days since our families have been under a virtual blackout, under war crimes, massacres, looting, rape, and so much more suffering that they're facing. And our aim for tomorrow is together with one big voice to make noise and to really pressure pressure the international community, but also to target celebrities and so much more audience, really the global audience, the entire world. We really want them to see and to feel the pain that we're going through, and to not undermine the humanitarian crisis and disaster, the catastrophe that's happening in Tigray as we speak. And the other thing is, we want to relate this to what took place about 20 years ago in Rwanda, Africa, Rwanda genocide. It took 100 days for the UN, other international organizations to step in and realize what was going on in Rwanda, which was a genocide. And that is similar to that of what's happening in Tigray right now, Tigray genocide. So we want to remind the world that UN failed Rwanda, and UN should not be failing Tigray once again.
Yeah, I mean, well said. The never again slogan needs to apply to us, and why doesn't it, right? Again, never again before Rwanda, never again after Rwanda, and yet, you know, here we are. What are our goals? How does this work for people who may not know how it works? Daniel, I have two of the main hashtags here. If you can walk us through it.
Yeah. So a few things that I want to point out to follow up with Luam's comment. One, the different organizations, I would like to mention their names just so that we're giving them credit for all the work that they're doing. They don't usually get recognition. Sometimes you don't have to be here to be recognized. You know, it's important that we are supporting our brothers and sisters' efforts across the world. And so along with OMNA Tigray and Stand with Tigray, we have different organizations by the name. First, Defund Tigray Genocide, Canadians for Tigray, Tagaru Youth Holland, Tigray Unity Germany, Tigray Youth Movement Switzerland, and Tagarus in Norway. And these are the organizations that have partaken in this. I may have missed maybe a few. If I have, my apologies. But with that, this campaign is holistically getting everyone who's been impacted and those that actually care for those that are suffering in Tigray to step up and actually be a voice for our people. The main hashtag we've been using is Tigray Genocide, but on top of that, 100 Days of Genocide is basically the collective message behind all the tweets that will be put out there. Now, the tweets will be available in many languages, and they will be on Stand with Tigray as well as OMNA Tigray's websites. They will be different. So the tweet banks will be different on both sides. So if you go to one website and then you've tweeted from all the tweet banks that's there, you should go to the next site and then go there and also do the same thing. Use the tweet banks, because it's not the same tweets that are being put on these sites. The other thing is it's important that you focus on your local community. The tweets would be in multiple languages: English, French, German, Dutch, Swedish, Norwegian, and Italian. These are going to be the different tweets because of these organizations that we have.
Yeah. Wow.
The tweets will be in many different languages. So we've vetted these tweets. We've gotten the translations of them. We know what they're saying. And so if you want to go to a tweet that's in Italian and you want to tweet that to the Italian media and people that are local, it's important that we support the local movements as well. That is other main thing. The other thing is, this has two components. So this protest, this campaign has two components. The first is to emphasize on 100 days of genocide taking place in Tigray. Simply, 100 days of killing, raping, looting, bombing, terrorizing innocent Tigrayans. This is 100 days. This is monumental. 100 days later, we're still talking about the same thing that we've been talking about the first few days. And so it's important that we make sure the greater international community understands this. But also the second component of it is 100 days have passed by. and we need the international community to take action at this point. There's no 1 day, 2 days can go by. We need an immediate action to be taken by the UN, the EU, and any other stakeholders that have superpowers in which they can influence the Ethiopian government as well as the Eritrean government to evacuate their troops out of Tigray, and also to come to a negotiating table if need be, and allow humanitarian aid as well as journalists to go in and document the atrocities that took place. So it's a handful of things that we're talking about, but there's two components. Looking at the past 100 days, also what must be done moving forward from this day on. And so that's, and Luam stated this, but it will start at midnight, and this will be a 24-hour campaign. There are going to be people protesting tomorrow. So if you're not protesting, you can be protesting on Twitter. So make sure that, and even if you're protesting, there are down times before and after. You can always get on Twitter. It's on your phone, on your hand. It's not the hardest thing to do. So,
you know, if it were for anything else, I would say shameless plug, but this is a very worthy situation. But I do want to say, let's definitely, if you're protesting out there, as most of us will be, do be aware of your surroundings. But you're right, before and after. I'm having a ticker scroll at the bottom for both. So it's omnatigray.org. And then we have standwithtigray.com. Again, if by any chance, my goodness, by any chance, if you don't know, on that same note, I really want to let people who may have not, I know a couple of people who, and I think if I know a couple of people, then everybody knows a couple of people. There are a lot of people that kind of have been standing on the sidelines, really worried, really wondering what they could do, kind of, you know, playing that waiting game, that turtle in and out, in and out. So don't be ashamed. You're ready when you're ready. And maybe you're looking at people and thinking they were born activists, and no, a lot of people were not. But something has to happen. You have to move when your family's at stake, and our entire Tagaro community family is at stake. As both Luam and Daniel have said, 100 days. Remember, we woke up one day and you know what hit the fan, and we thought, okay, this is crazy. This is gonna end. A week, and then 2 weeks, and then 36 weeks, and 36 weeks, it feels like. And now it's 100 full days.
Yep.
Why is it imperative to keep that hashtag Tigray genocide while using this 100 days of genocide? Because a lot of our community members are new to Twitter. Even a lot of the younger crew that are usually on every other, TikTok, Instagram, everything, everyone is being forced onto Twitter. Why is Twitter important? Either of you could take this question, and why are these hashtags important?
Well, we can answer this, and then I'll follow up on any additional information.
I know it may feel a little one-on-one, but bear with me, because I'm telling you. I'm telling you, and it's a good reminder too, even for the tech-savvy people, hashtag game is a little, because it's so different throughout the different platforms. But please go ahead, one more.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about a hashtag on Stand with Tigray. Also, I can also talk about it here, but we do talk about hashtags and why trending is important and why we should be consistent with our hashtags. And we do have tutorials and how to create your Twitter account and how to even easily search for hashtags and tag, your representatives and officials and UN and etc. So the way Twitter works is that you have a hashtag, also similarly with Instagram, but mainly Twitter. When you tweet with a hashtag, let's say for hashtag Tigray genocide, all the tweets that contain the hashtag Tigray genocide are sort of create this web of, they connect with that. So all that is under one theme, which is the Tigray genocide. So if it trends and if people are searching for hashtag Tigray genocide, they will be able to see all the tweets under that Tigray genocide. So everything becomes sort of connected, one voice, one message. Similarly to Black Lives Matter, they have their own hashtag. So when you search that hashtag, all that messaging is consistent, and it's all kind of grouped and connected in a way that can be all exposed to, or the exposure can increase at the same time, so we're not all over the place. So our main hashtag is Tigray genocide, and tomorrow it's a specific day, so we're trying to send a message that it has been 100 days. So that is our temporarily or just a one-day hashtag that we're gonna use. After tomorrow, we're not going to use that hashtag. It's just the day of the hashtag of the day to speak to the 100 days of sufferings and massacres that took place and still are taking place in Tigray.
Well said. Well said. So basically, we use this hashtag, or in this case, these hashtags specifically. If you have other hashtags you'd like to use that we've been using consistently, sure. But because Twitter only allows a certain amount of characters, then these are our two main ones. The hashtag Tigray genocide, it's been there from pretty much day one. And all of the information we're saying that have that hashtag are banked in one area, so that when an official or a possible ally comes on and checks that hashtag, all of that information is banked, and then you can see it, right? And then you're saying the 100 days of genocide, tomorrow is the 100th day, and after tomorrow we won't use it. So it's important to use these hashtags first, and then you can do subsequent. A friend of mine today asked me, what about this and this hashtag? It made sense because she was making them up to her point, but it's sort of almost a waste of time to make up hashtags that are not being used by the rest of the group, wouldn't you say? Because, you know, the trending ability only happens when we are collectively working together. It's such a metaphor for everything, isn't it? So just to
add on that,
yeah, please.
So the way I look at it, and this is just simplifies it for me to kind of understand how the hashtag algorithm works, is that you know, you have a newspaper, right? And the newspaper will have the main news in the front page, like the headline news, right? And that's the same thing with trending. When you have collectively so many people talking about the same subject, it becomes this bigger story than the rest of the stories that took place that day. So Twitter, what it does is it will use the hashtags to collect all that information, and then it will have it on the trending. So when you go search for something, it'll say trending locally to you, and it'll have a list of things that are trending: politics, news, sports, and such. And so by us having to get our agenda trending, 100 days of genocide, or Tigray genocide, all of these, when they're trending, what it does is it brings that story up to the top. And when people are just going on Twitter to look at what really took place today, they're able to see that Tigray genocide is one of those stories that they need to follow. Now, the other way that I also understand it is when you click on the hashtag, you click on the hashtag on anybody's tweet. You click on the hashtag, what it does is it pulls up all of the tweets that are hashtagged the same way. So if you are trying to get an additional information about what took place and what information has been circulating throughout the day, then you're able to connect it to all of those by just having one connection to that one person.
Yeah.
So the way that this just keeps you organized and keeps you on the loop of like what your agenda is. And when you tag, let's say, an official, a representative from anywhere, from the UN, EU, or even the US, they're able to see what they were tagged on and what hashtags were used, and they can click on there and get a lot more information so that they can base their assessments on a collective of different information and not just by what you tweeted them. And so it's very important that you spell check your hashtags. Make sure that
Right.
you
Yeah.
yeah, and you stay, because that has been an issue, and Luam can attest to this. There are our enemies are working hard to make sure that they have a hashtag that's trending, or not trending, but hashtag available out there
It's so
with the
funny.
wrong
Not
spelling.
in a funny way, but it's just so crazy.
So, yeah, switching a letter back and forth just to confuse you,
Mhm.
and so you can go in a different direction. But we have to be very mindful of that. We have to be very mindful of the things that we write, how we're writing them, and when we're writing them, who we're tagging, and the
Yeah.
information that we're putting out there. It needs to be consistent with genocide, the humanitarian aspect of this fight. We need to make sure that we're addressing those issues, because our people, I think the biggest problem that we have right now is that, 50 reportedly in this 100 days, 52,000 civilians are killed. That's a huge number reported. Upwards of close to 60, if not past 60 now, thousand civilians are refugees in Sudan. 1.2 million are internally displaced, and this number fluctuates. It may be a lot higher than the 1.2 because we don't have foot on the ground to actually assess this number.
Right.
And then 2.3 million in need of humanitarian access, 4.5 million in need of food aid. These are huge numbers, by all means, that we need to be able to let the international community to understand. Because if they don't understand this, they may not understand the actual genocide that's taking place in Tigray. And
That's
so
right.
we have to be focused on this, and then we have to use the right hashtags, the hashtags properly spelled. Then we need to tag as many people as we can. By doing that, what we're doing is now when the numbers come back to tell us how many times things are tweeted, how many people we're able to reach, you will see it's astonishing. I think we've reached maybe millions of people through the multiple campaigns that we've had collectively, all of us. And so this is a huge opportunity to literally tap into all of who actually matter. Now, why is Twitter important? That's another question that you brought up earlier, so I want to make sure that I touched on that too.
Yes, please.
Twitter, more than any other social media, houses all of those that have the ability to take action. Because a lot of politicians are not on Clubhouse. A lot of politicians may not be on Instagram. A lot of politicians may not be on Facebook, because it's more of like, that's where they see family and such. So when it comes to business and wanting to get your ideas across, and we remember our previous president in this country used Twitter as a way of saying what he wanted to say to the world, and everyone took that information as a direct information from the president to the rest of the world. So we have to understand that Twitter, beyond any other platform, is by far one of the most powerful platforms where all of the politicians who actually have a voice or can make a decision are in, and who all the humanitarian folks that are in the world are housed on Twitter. That's one place that
an arm's length, right? And
exactly,
it's almost like nudging somebody right there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so we have to understand the magnitude of Twitter. I think our people have this misconception that what they write on Facebook and when they write on Twitter has the same volume, and that is false. It does not. Right. On Facebook, your information is shared amongst the people that you're friends with. That's it. And then it just stays there. And it may go by, when people share it, you might get information to go into more people. But on Twitter, everything is open. Meaning it's not private unless you get blocked. And many of us have been blocked by our
that guy
over there. But for the most part, if you're not blocked and you're just a bystander coming in wanting to know information, you can literally access anything that's out there. So just the way that Twitter and Facebook work is completely different. The way that Twitter and Instagram work is completely different. Right. The way that, especially with the newer clubhouses and other places where it's more conversation driven, then Twitter is going to be that one place where, with quickly short elevator speech, tiny 140 character, 150 character, not even sure what the amount is, but with that amount, you're able to deliver your message just like that. Yeah. And you can do it as many times as you want. So we need to be very mindful of that. But
you hit on something that I try to remind all of us, including myself, right? Because there's so many platforms available, we would do best to figure out what serves us personally in our personal advocacy, knowing, like we were talking about, both you and Luam have prefaced the importance of Twitter. We've said it's almost like nudging an official, right? I mean, it's really, with the amount of numbers that we have collectively nudging these people, it's almost close to standing outside of their offices, I feel like. Because even if they're not looking at the numbers themselves, they have aides that bring about the information. So if you, we talk a lot about mental well-being, right? We said in times of crisis, we are in time of crisis. That is what it is right now, because we're in fight mode since November 4th. Some of us, we said earlier, before that. But putting your energy through all of these, Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever else God knows is out there, that's a lot of energy dispersed. We know Twitter works. We know it hits the mark. So, and we know Facebook is for personal things. And Instagram really feels like it's more for communication within our organizations, right? We know it's kind of still kind of for us. Maybe people who are reaching out to celebrities for better exposure, amplification of our situation, maybe. But we've been talking a lot here about streamlining your advocacy. I wanted to talk about something else, but it'll come back to me. What is something that you wish you could tell every one of our youth right now? Are you seeing, who's doing it right? I feel like there's so many of our, again, quote unquote, elders who have taken the time. Luam, you said on Stand with Tigray, there are tutorials in Tigrinya. I believe also in Amharic, if I'm not mistaken.
In Tigrinya.
In Tigrinya. I feel like Yamana did I could be wrong.
Yeah, the ones on
in Tigrinya and in English, for sure.
Yeah.
In Tigrinya, that's right. Our elders are taking the time to do this. And I think it's so much more positive for our parents, our aunts and uncles to have something to do, which is actually making a difference. So if you haven't turned your people onto this, please do, your immediate family. Are we noticing the youth participating? Is there a lack?
So let me just go back to what you said about elders participating, is that we did, I think, a good amount of work in moving people from Facebook to Twitter, like providing tutorials and how to create it. And it's a fun, participation for our elders to be part of this movement. And I'm actually gonna say something in Tigrinya, because
you have to. I won't let you leave without it.
But but the youth is, it's like the powerhouse. Without the youth, I don't think all of this would have been possible to do. We've been trending, we've been having days where we trend, and we've been having daily tweets. And the youth is the powerhouse of this movement. Really, the youth has all the power and can make a huge impact. And I know, I'm aware that there are some young and some youth who are still trying to find ways to, in their journey for activism and advocacy. Maybe they feel intimidated, or maybe they haven't really found their direction, or maybe they just need a motivation. So that's what we need, is to motivate our youth. And the youth in return is also supporting their parents, their families, and sharing infos and teaching them, how to, even how to download Twitter and things like that. So it's amazing. Also, before I forget, I want to go back to what Daniel was talking about, the misspelling of hashtags. There are enemies trying to create distraction and confusion in our movement and, Twitter campaigns. And for that, I don't know if you guys read, Washington Post last
bring that up.
Stand with Tigray and the unity for Ethiopia. I think because of the statements that Abiy Ahmed released on Tuesday. And really our awareness, as long as our purpose and mission is to push and to be the voice for our voiceless and to raise awareness about the humanitarian crisis that is happening.
Yeah.
So because of that, we've been also getting a lot of traffic, just overwhelming traffic, and the youth wanting to really join. And we also have non-Tagarus sort of joining the movement. So what the misspelling and things like that, the minor things can hurt us, but our youth and the users and Tagarus can actually just go to OMNA Tigray or Stand with Tigray Twitter pages, Instagram pages, and follow us and see if we are correcting. Usually one of us or both of us are gonna correct, this is a wrong hashtag, don't use this, or things like that. So just be mindful of that, be careful. And one thing also Daniel touched on, searching and clicking hashtags. Be careful on retweeting tweets that include hashtag Tigray genocide, because they could still contain that hashtag, but make sure you are reading the message. What is the message saying? Maybe it's against our messaging. Even if it has those hashtags, it might not be speaking for our people. It might be against what we're doing. And similarly with us or Sounds Tigray or other sites, they can be including, for example, hashtag unity for Ethiopia, but it might be questioning the unity. Where is the unity that they're trying to amplify? So I just want to talk about that. I mean, it's a minor thing, but I don't want people to be confused.
It's actually a very major thing. You're both right. One night I was so exhausted from the day. There were so many activities, getting ready for protests and things like that. The baby, the family, trying to call home, exhausting, like all of us are exhausted. Let me show you something. Does this look familiar?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. This is how it shows up when it's,
I think.
So instead of ALLOW, it'll show up as ALOW, access to Tigray.
Yep.
And then that genocide, one day it was almost trending, because when you start to type that hashtag, usually the right one comes on. But one day this misspelling, there's a midnight crew on the East Coast, like we all know each other. And, there's such a camaraderie in the midst of this chaos and madness, because our trenches are cyber, right? Our war is being fought on the cyber fields. So you get on a roll, and then there's this delirium that sets in, 3, 4, 4:30 in the East Coast. And then it almost trended, because without realizing it, even though we were on our side, we were hashtagging, we accidentally got swept up in this. Yeah. So there, and I don't want to leave this on too long. I don't want people to accidentally copy it, but it will trend. Accidentally, by us let me put the right one out there. Like it'll trend by even us accidentally doing it. So that was 2 hours of just dead work, because those go into the abyss. When we were talking about earlier, people who want to know about this information, they check the right spelling of the tag, and you've just missed 2 hours of work that you'll never get back. There's just this, so what I ended up doing just to feel better about that was I took an hour, just did a quick message, brother, sister, we've accidentally, and then I just went to the misspelled hashtag, and I found some of our very people who have large followings. That's usually what happens. They accidentally tag on to these misspellings, and then other people, we're retweeting them, even when and then we're doing the quote retweets, and then we're also, so that in itself, and then those people will amplify that message. So even to be mindful of that, You said it, Daniel Kadem, and we've kind of been trying to coin that phrase, mindful tweeting, mindful tweeting. So as soon as you log on, you've had a long day, we're going to make mistakes. Let's think about mindful tweeting. Something else we're pushing out is, mental, wellness,
Yes.
mental health, psychological. I know it still has a stigma in our culture, but we're getting better with embracing it. And I think when people hear mental wellness break, they think you're saying stop the advocacy and go to a spa. And if that's your thing, do it. Do whatever you need to do to come back. But really, we're saying to take a moment to understand what you're doing is affecting you. And as much as you may want to do your best work, you may not be doing your best work because you're either tired or you've been triggered. We've been continuing that conversation. And I do want to let people know I'm very happy to announce that both Stand With Tigray and OMNA, as well as TPN actually, who is already doing mental wellness Mondays, we will be sending out messages throughout the week, just as a reminder, just like cue cards to remind our Tagaru tweets or Tigray Twitter, all of the little names we've, been given, to be mindful of also our mental wellness. So I'm very, very excited about that. We're growing.
Well, let me add on that. I think because you don't know how much we need that at this time and age. Listen, we cannot do the activism work, the advocacy work that we're doing if we're not good. We're not sane. We're not all together. We're not at our best. So we will get more out of people if they were able to take a few hours off and go and take a walk or, just listen to music, go for a run, exercise, anything that can help you to just kind of circle back on self. And then, reset the button and just get yourself really on a good mood again. It's easy to lose and go sideways because you see graphics, you see news that just is not to your liking, and it just takes it takes all your energy away.
And writing these words over, genocide over and over,
again, it has a toll on the human brain. Because genocide is not a light word. I think, some people may not fully understand what genocide is, but genocide is literally the idea of going out to kill people based on their ethnicity or their differences from you. Just for the sole reason that they're different from you, you just go out there and kill them. This
mass quantity, right?
Masses,
and now it's such a double-edged sword because we're screaming to the world that Eritrea is involved, that the unelected PM is hiding information. I mean, all these things. And now we're actually seeing footage coming out, slowly leaked. And it's such a double-edged sword because you're seeing the bodies. You're seeing that, they were just hit from the back. I mean, it's so, you can feel it. And so it's so necessary. We need to push that. We need to amplify. And, we've been saying a voice for the voiceless, but they're voiceless because they've been silenced. So it's so important. We've picked up from there and are making sure that, that they're not silenced on this end. And at the same time, I think about the brother, I believe it's in the UK, that took his life. It takes a toll. It takes a toll.
It does. It does. But the other thing also I want to mention is into the level of advocacy that's happening between the different ages and genders and such in the different countries, our population, our people. Obviously, we can't expect the advocacy to come from people that are within Ethiopia because they will get prosecuted, killed, imprisoned, and they're already facing a lot of hardship. We can't expect that from them. But there's been times where we've actually been trending in Ethiopia. I don't know if you've seen it. There's been times where it blows my mind the fact that we're trending in Ethiopia. But the other thing is, in terms of advocacy, we all have a role to play in this. Okay, that's important for everyone to know. Like, the youth are leading the way in terms of social media advocacy, the diplomacy work, and other components of this fight. right? Primarily, and that's always been the case, by the way. When we fought, Kalaiwayana was primarily by the youth, as young as 12, 10 years old, who actually left home to go fight. Before that, Kadamaiwayana, it was the same thing. A whole bunch of youth, young men who were fed up with Haile Selassie's way of conducting himself towards Tigray, that they fought against Haile Selassie. So most of advocacies of this kind are done by the youth historically. This is not something that we need to shy away from. But also there is a place for the adults from the middle age to older age men and women in this fight. One, Tigray is going to need financial backing, financial support. So there needs to be a way where all of the different areas in the world can come together and come and collect funds to help Tigray, rebuild Tigray, and assist those that are suffering even now, right? And also, they can get on social media and work on this.
And they are, and they really are, wouldn't you say? I mean, nothing like this, I think, in our, I'm sorry to interrupt, I want us to push that narrative that is, that is really true. I don't think anything has bridged us the way this has, you couldn't tell, who was the youth tweeting, who was not. I myself belong in the middle age to later,
Me too.
So,
you're a youth, Luan, but the rest of us,
we still say the elders, but like we are the elders.
We're getting there.
We all are, part of that equation, if we all have to come together, just make the pieces fit together, and that's how our strength and our power, that's how we're gonna make an impact. I actually wanted to emphasize on like the importance of mental health and and all of that. Our enemies are playing like a psychological warfare on us. It's been really difficult. Like imagine not being able to talk to your family and hearing horrific news. On top of that, you are being harassed on social media just for speaking up, just for saying the war must stop, the genocide must end. We're being harassed, and it's insane, and actually yesterday I met with someone who's someone spiritual, someone who's an expert in like mental wellness and counseling, and she told me something along sides of like, oh, if spirituality and your well-being and your mental health, it's important for domination. It's crucial for you to be able to dominate your voice, because their goal is to suppress us, to sort of silence us. And but when we are well, and when we take the time, when we breathe, just take a little bit of time out of the day for ourselves. For a lot of us, this is our first time. I mean, I never been on social media. This is my first time.
Oh, wow.
We're just experimenting. A lot of us were learning. And actually, that 2 hour that you mentioned, Helena, about the misspelling, how Tigray genocide with the wrong the wrong spelling was trending. And I feel like there is always ways to learn, and I feel like we learned so much from that, and we're gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. We shouldn't be hard on ourselves. Some days we're gonna feel tired, we're gonna feel exhausted, and we should remember to always reach out, ask for help, and to be there for one another. And also, some people are writers, even PhD experts. All of us were in the same feeling, we're in the same pain. So when they feel like they can't type, when they feel like they're tired, they can't come up with a tweet. The reason why we have all these platforms is so that they can just go click. It makes life easy. So our technique, the way we do things, should always be what is the short way to do things, what is the smart way, how can we stay healthy, how can we help each other from here. It's no longer just about me, it's no longer about our family or just one family. It has become about our history and about our existence, you know. So for that, it should actually be a motivation for us. It should give us some strength to really fight. It's not just for this generation. This is for generations to come. And if we come together and make this happen, if we can stop this soon before more sufferings and wrongdoings take place, this will be a huge impact in the history of the world. The world will regret this very soon, very much soon. UN, all the organizations are gonna say, "Oh well, you know, we didn't know, we didn't have conversation," as many experts are saying right now. Like, you know, for example, Alex Dawal, who's an expert in the Horn of Africa, has been speaking up so much about what's happening and how UN itself is gonna regret it for not acting soon. So yeah, I just want to say we will get out of this very soon, and for that to happen, we need to be there for one another and just try to take the time to breathe and really just take the time for ourselves, you know. But yeah.
Well said. Well said. Daniel, some final words for us, please.
Sure. I know we've covered a lot of it, but tomorrow is the 100th day that we're in this genocidal warfare that's been put upon us. We didn't sign up for this. We weren't prepared for this. We weren't. We're not a war-loving people. Although we'll defend ourselves, we do not like war because we know the cost of war. We know what war does to our people. We have been through it. Every generation has been through it, sometimes multiple times. Now, our forces are fighting for us, Tigray, to liberate Tigray. They're doing an absolutely amazing job, keeping in mind that they're a small number and they're fighting for 5 countries invading us from every country, from every corner of Tigray. Now, that aside, those of us that are outside of Tigray, those of us that are outside of Ethiopia, because Ethiopia is a different story. Like, you can't really do what we can do here in Ethiopia. So those of us that are outside, we have our fight. You know, our fight is the social media fight, social media, the cyber fight, and the actual advocacies that you could do by writing letters, by calling your representatives, by attending protests, and by having meetings with the different representatives to tell them about the atrocities taking place in Tigray. And so everybody in your own capacity, you should be able to attend and come into the table to help Tigray in a way that it is going to make a change. Now, I do want to say this. What we're doing is actually working. Okay? What we've been doing, it's actually working. It's working to the point that they're actually doing exactly what we've been doing for the last 100 days. Now, today, if you've seen, the ministers are out there tweeting false information that just it just cannot be proven. And imagine, ministers. These are people in the highest level of government positions. And so when you see that means there's been enough pressure being applied to these folks that they have to actually do this, thinking that is going to revive them of the pressure that's there. So what we're doing is working. So please, let's continue. Campaigns will come. Campaigns will continue. The other thing is, let me see here. I have a note here that I put together. We need to be a little tolerant of each other. I think that's one thing that, because of what's going on we have not been able to be tolerant of each other. We get angry quickly. We fight. We fuss, and it's easy to be that. And that goes to the mental health component. I think sometimes if you're getting to a point where you know that things are just going in a different direction than you want them to, or you know you're being triggered, it's best that you walk away and find that place that can restore you back into you just being yourself and not the aggressive personality. But we see this. We see it with our own families, friends, people that are around us, just the way that we talk, engage ourselves. Sometimes we find ourselves being a little bit different than we know ourselves to be. And so I highly encourage people to sometimes take the time and reevaluate yourself, see yourself. Are you okay? Are you checking in within yourself? So that, again, the best you is going to be the best for us, for all of us, for Tigray, for everybody. The best you. Not the hardworking 16 hours tweeting and writing letters doing this, but the best you for 5 hours is better than the hardworking burnt out person for 16 hours. And so
that's good.
Let's work together. This effort that we're having, the 100 days of genocide that's taking place in Tigray. Please tweet as many times as you can. Use the different platforms that are available to you. If you have any need, any assistance that you would need, contact the 2 social medias. They're on Instagram, on Facebook. Just send a message and say, hey, I'm a bit confused. I don't know where to find certain things. And there should be someone to contact you. We have teams of different people working from different areas that can assist. And so we hope that tomorrow's protest is a success in New York. And if you are in the New York area, please attend. And if you're not going to be attending the protest, or you don't have a protest going on in your city, please get on Twitter and tweet as much as you can. But thank you for giving us the opportunity to be on the platform and kind of give some information about tomorrow's campaign.
Are you serious? Thank you so much for both of you coming on. How could I not? I'm kind of sad at myself that I didn't think of it sooner, but partly it was the knowing that the enemy, so I didn't want to put us on blast on what we were doing. But then when Washington Post put and with I was thinking, okay, all's fair,
All hands on Twitter fingers.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to say also, we have to fight it sort of face to face. We can't, and it's like it's out, and it's that's
now that it's out, because there are people within our communities that may not know. So that was the thing. We're coming up on the hour. Loam, thank you so much, Daniel. So honored to have met both of you on this platform today. Thank you for Cyber Power of Tigray for this, the ability to speak directly to our community, to our family. We talked about a lot today, but all within one context. Our advocacy is not going to be perfect, but it's ours. And we're going to do it mindfully for the sake of our mental wellness, because, as Daniel said, we don't need the exhausted you trying to hang on. We need the best you, and we need you around. And as Luamwa said, if you need the ready, set tweet, it's there. We need to be mindful of what's out there in terms of trying to impede us, but we don't need to dwell on it. A personal message is for our community to please stop dwelling on people who solely come to attack. Our energy is worth more. We are expensive. Our time right now is expensive. We're dealing with lives. So I've had to stop myself, and I stop myself every day. So my new thing is I look at that thing that I want to really get angry and tweet back and clap back at. And I just look at it for about 3 seconds and I breathe. And that's been working for me.
Good.
And sometimes in my mind I say, God will answer you better than I. My mom taught me that. So as we sign off today, remember, please, tomorrow's the 11th. It's a big day all around. I know all of these days are big days, but the 2 hashtags are 100 Days of Genocide and Tigray genocide. Those are constant. If you want to throw any other ones like Eritrea out of Tigray or allow access to Tigray, if you have enough characters, do. NYC protest, march on the United Nations building. Remember also there will be street demonstrations. Please be aware of your surroundings. For those who may be quite sensitive to the COVID situation, which is really alive, and please be safe and wear your masks. There is a caravan going on, so the organizers will let you know where. Make sure you decorate your car, and I say decorate, but you know what I'm saying. Atlanta, please show up. Tomorrow is a big one for Atlanta as well. It is going to start at Centennial Park and end at the state capitol. If you have impediments of walking or any type of journeying or movement, please meet at the state capitol. It's a very big one. Atlanta has been impeded. I mean, there's been no coverage, and solely because the Trump situation has always been going on. And, you know, for some reason, they're not picking us up. So having said that, I pray for better days to come soon and quickly. And you don't have to promise to come, but I will bring you back on here kicking and screaming if I have to. Okay.
I'm sure we'll be back. I don't think I can speak for myself and Luan to say. I don't think it's an issue for us to come back. We'll have some campaigns in the future, so I'm sure there'll be a reason for us to come back. If not, somebody else like us to come back to speak on what's going on.
That's pretty much us nowadays, right? I will come back, or someone like me. Very nice. Wonderful hour spending with you guys, talking about information and giving information. As always, thank you for joining us, and please stay well, and do remember and remind yourself, Tigray will prevail. Thank you, guys.
Tigray will prevail.